Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I, of course, am so glad that you could keep our appointment. Now, this is going to be an exciting two-part presentation tonight. So I want you to click that share. Let folks get in on this so that they can get the link to our part 2 unfiltered version. I'm talking about none other than our very own Chief Pontiac, aka Rod Hayes. I'm catching up with them like I do periodically, just taking the pulse of what's going on and having him giving us some enlightenment after we've had our long conversations, which I feel like, you know what, we really need to share that with everybody. And tonight we decided we're going to be really calm in the first part. But when we move over to Unfiltered, and you've got the link in your description box, is no holds barred. So he doesn't need any introduction. I'm just going to bring my brother on and we just going to rock it out for the music. I just want to introduce to some and present to others. None other than Chief Pontiac, Rod Hayes. How you doing?
Hey, Dr. G.
How you?
I'm doing good.
It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Even though we had a long conversation. Sometimes, you know how it is when we have these conversations, you wish that it was being recorded because of some of the moments that you just cannot get back. Some of those, nuggets, but you're so full of nuggets of information and truth that it's always going to be something that probably we didn't talk about. So we're going to get started in just a few because we're doing a two-part tonight. And I'm excited about that, to see how that's going to work. Hopefully everybody that's going to be on tonight on this part is going to look in the description, either whether they're on Facebook or YouTube, and click the link. I checked the link. It does work. And all they have to do is click it to get into the unfiltered side. So again, welcome back to Office Hours with Dr. G. Welcome to all of you who are in the chat. Make sure that you are sharing the fact that Chief Pontiac is in the house. He's in the office. He's going to give us just what the doctor ordered. How about that? It's so good to have you. It's so good to have you here, Chief. It's so good to have you here. And
It's always good to be here, Dr. G.
I know we have a ball though when we talk, when we have our conversations. Where do you find the link for part 2? Part 2's link is if you go back to the description of this particular show. Like if you're on YouTube, there's a description. It's telling you what the show is going to be about. There's a link. And it tells you this is the link to the show. You click on that. What we're going to do is give you a break. What we're going to do is we're going to talk for about 45 minutes, maybe. Actually, Chief's going to talk for about 45 minutes. We're going to share. And then about 20 after 8, we're going to log off of this, and we want you to click the link and join us. It's going to look the same, but we want you to join us, and we're going to be in what we call Unfiltered. And what that means is it's not going to be on Facebook. It's not going to be on YouTube. You're not even going to be able to get back to it tomorrow. When it's over, you're not going to be able to see it. So you want to tell everybody you know that we're doing a two-parter. You don't have to register. It's just that it's unfiltered. And we want to make sure that you just can't get back to it and throw it up on YouTube or something. We don't want it on YouTube because we want to be able to speak freely. And it's sad. It's sad that we're at a place where we can't. Free speech is not free, and you have you run the risk of jeopardizing your channel, your platform when you tell the truth. But we found a way. We got to work around. So with that said, Chief, again, welcome to office hours. Welcome back to office hours. I mean, I feel like, you know, when you have a this is Dr. G's office hours, and I feel like when you come on, it's like I had to get a specialist to come. You know what I mean? A doctor specialist to come in the office and give us the 411 of what's really going on, because you know I didn't learn that stuff when I was in in the doctorate school. So I appreciate the time that you took, and that Big Mama took to put you in a place where you could have some real serious download time, and you know, you erudited yourself. You know, you were able to get that erudite scholarship and that knowledge. And it's very rare that I've ever seen you on anybody's platform that a question has been posed to you that you can't respond to an answer. And what I love about you also is that when you can't, you say that. You don't try to find something and give somebody a whole bunch of gobbledygook and some stuff to make it sound good. But I've heard you literally say from time to time that, you know, you're not familiar with that. I thought I had myself. Yeah, I thought, you know, you don't say that, but what you do know, you come right off the cuff with it, and I know, and I feel, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. That knowledge and that wisdom that you have garnered over those in the belly of the beast was not for naught, and it's been for our benefit. With that, like I said, welcome back to the show. Do you have anything in particular that's on your heart or in your mind? Because, you know, every day I know information and so forth is being transmitted to you. So I don't know whether there's anything before I get into asking you stuff. What's going on? Because it's a lot going on, but I want to know, I want your take on it. Just to start off now.
Well, look, it's funny you said that because I'm in my sense of humor mode, right?
Okay.
And somebody posted on Facebook today. It popped up in my timeline. It say, "This is the 3rd of September. You ain't black if you don't know what that is." It
Was
was
that
the
the day I
3rd.
always remember? That was the
It was
day.
the day that my daddy died.
Daddy down.
So the emphasis on the 3rd of September being the day that my daddy died is talking about patriarchy.
Ah,
Patriarchy.
okay.
The revelation of truth is what killed the father, who was a bootleg preacher.
Okay.
I mean, that he was making it up as he go, teaching what he think can get him some money. I ain't in here for no money, and I work for the matriarchy.
That's right, you do.
So if I ain't here for money and I work for the matriarchy, then the patriarchy got to fall.
That's right.
Right? So in working for the matriarchy, a lot of the up and coming developing men think that the death of patriarchy mean that all of their power took. They don't understand the matriarchy. The matriarchy is not about taking the men out of positions of power and just putting a woman there. They might be the most qualified for that position. You're going to leave them there under the matriarchy. The matriarchy's rules are a lot simpler and comprehensive for the regular people than the patriarchal admiralty rules. Right? And the matriarchy is live your best life, be your best self to experience heaven on earth. The patriarchy is dog eat dog, step on your brother to get what you want. Right? It's two different ideologies as the root. Under the matriarchy, everybody in the tribes have a voice. And you send it up the chain of command. Under the patriarchy, the people that the patriarchy consider important, the only ones that matter, and everybody else's voice must only be apparently heard. Meaning they give you the appearance that they hear you, but they do what they was going to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So In the matriarchy, a 4-year-old can get legislation put on the vote. And under the patriarchy, if you're not a legislative writer, you can't get nothing put on the vote. The difference is the law is handled by a group of specialized women that know how to use source energy as the guiding light to make law according to the law of nature. So the first two questions that they ask before they consider if it's something that they should be contemplating making law about, they ask two questions. How does it affect the children? The reason they ask that question, because the effect on the children tells you what effect it has in the future. And then the second question is, how does it affect the earth? If it affects either one of them negatively, it's rejected. You can't, it won't even benefit one if it don't benefit the other. Right? So this is the difference in the patriarchal dictators masquerading as democratic government, having people believe they vote count when nothing they say count. They just want to know who can organize the vote so they know who to pay off or murder. And if you can get you a group of people that they feel you can control, then whatever you ask for, they gonna compensate you in one form or another. They normally give it to you in tax breaks and grants. That's what 501c3 status is for the church.
501c3, yeah.
It's a waiver of financial penalty in the form of tax if you do what we want you to do. They're not going to give you access to exemptions if you're not going to benefit their system. But if you can figure out how to operate within their system to benefit the most people, they want you, and they will do anything they can to appease you from mobilizing those people to reclaim what's rightfully theirs. So this is why they have us under the illusion of voters' rights. They already said we don't got no rights in their system. So now we believe we got rights in their system, and we fight over the rights that they never gonna give us. And the only time you get a benefit is when you can sabotage the most people on their behalf. The more people you can sabotage, the more comfortable they let you live. Oppression is atmospheric. There's two ways to the top. Rise up or suck up. It's only two ways to the top. And we got too many suck ups and not enough rise ups. Because when you rise up, you know what you're doing, or else you're not going to leave your seat. But when you suck up, you don't know what you're doing, because you don't understand why you can't get no power. All suction. And you ain't getting no power. Right? That's like a Hollywood prostitute. When she get old, she still was a prostitute and she got nothing to show for it, but probably a house and a car. Then she look back and she's miserable with how she lived her life. The whore of Babylon. Right? So they use the political stage show to steer the psychological grouping or sociology of the collective. If they can give you a compelling show, they have your attention. If they got your attention, you will follow them off the cliff.
Like
but as soon as you take your attention back, they are offended at you because you're taking your power back.
let's talk about power for a minute, or the lack thereof, or the the appearance of, or the mindset of there being no power. Can you tell us when we went from knowing that we were that God, we were the gods that God, the scripture, even if you go to the Bible, there's a scripture that says the greater one lives on the inside, and Yeshua was allegedly talking to the masses and saying, you got the greater one, you got him already on the inside of you. So we see that there. Yet what has been espoused and taught and assimilated has been powerlessness and looking to government, which we know allowing somebody else to take over control of one's mental faculties and to put thoughts and ideologies and so forth, and to control. When did we go from knowing who we were, where we came from, to where we are now, being completely, in a, like the Twilight Zone, or brainwashed as if these things had never even been our story? What happened? What transpired? I guess I want to say.
Sociology is the study of groups and how groups operate, how they move. This tells you what their trigger mechanisms is. It can tell you how to turn them on each other. It can tell you how to execute your divide and conquer strategies. The ones with enough of the old ways will begin to remember pieces of it, and they will do things that gather the attention away from the stage show. They use the same strategy as an illusionist in Vegas, a David Copperfield trick. They tell you that you don't have any rights because they declare war on you. But then they told you, you're not them people that we talking about. We talk about these other people that we brought over here with us to replace you. But we ain't gonna tell you that part. Rodney Hayes just gonna say the quiet part out loud so the people know how the game played. So they telling you from somewhere else, but your insides keep saying, just something ain't right with that story. You don't know what it is because so many people that look like you believe the same narrative. But some of us don't. The hard part is for the ones who don't to go find enough evidence to prove the case. We become then tribal investigators. And we trade the information by wind talking or code talking. The ghetto code, dash, tells us where we are. How much influence do we still have over our people versus the squatters that came? We always knew who we was, but most of us couldn't say it out loud without being penalized. The threat of death and punishment and torture made a lot of our people whisper it to only certain people in the family that they know can hold water. So they don't want us singing, call the plumber, it must be a leak in my drain, because everybody seemed to know about my good thing. Right? So the plumber just so happened to be another Klansman. When he get there, he gonna tell you why you got a leak in your drain, but shh, don't you tell nobody. So then they create comprehensive structures to slowly feed us back the information of who we are by telling us to watch how we operate. So then the government tricked the people into believing that the righteous, rightful heirs of the land is the criminals, because they came with the admiralty law and they denied us our right to enforce tribal law as a clan. Every tribal leader is responsible for keeping his clan under control. And he used members of the clan to do it. By using a strategy called villainization, they systematically take parts of our culture, create a word that means something negative, and then they call us by the negative term on a wide spectrum broadcast like the news. Before that, it was the newspaper, the movie reels, the news reels. They making movies to tell us that we marijuana smoking, white girl raping, and lunatics, the niggas, right? But then when it coming to find out, the ones who was smoking the herb was the kindest, peacefulest people. And then Paleface told us, because they had something called the flower generation, where they was learning all of this stuff from the tribal leaders. Many of them look like us, on why they using the herb, why they eating the mushroom, right? But at the same time, they trying to tell us the government lied, and here come out here hippie. Hippie is a tribal term from the people of the land describing something.
Really?
So the hippie generation is known as the flower child generation. It's the bridge between the baby boomers and Generation X. It's the flower child and free love generation. So how do you stop them from giving free love? You poison them with STDs. That's all chemical warfare, biological warfare.
So you're saying that the introduction of the STDs was something that was well, it was introduced.
Biological warfare. First you promote it, then you poison it. If it work, you poison it.
When you say once you promote it, when you mean promote the free love and then put something in to
make
create.
Yeah. So you make it mainstream and then you poison it. Because now you have to try to stop the people from reproducing in time enough to catch the one that's going to figure out the problem. If too many babies is born, that's what they call scattering your shots. That's why it's more than one big mama on the land that got a baby boy that she sent out on a mission. We come from different tribes, but we all have a tribal responsibility as a tribal investigator to look at the problem. And when we don't know what the problem is, we tell the part we know, this is what I found out so far. And then we pass it to the next chief for him to look at it and do his investigation. And we use the music, the arts, and the entertainment because that is the root to the culture. You don't have a culture if you don't have that stuff. And I don't care which generation you look back on the last 100 years, if you start at ragtime and you come to hip hop, it's us. James Brown was a chief. Chuck Berry was a chief. Little Richard, Chief Screaming Hawk. Smokey Robinson, Hyoka High Chief. They putting codes in the music. The Temptations, Chiefs. They putting codes in the music. You got to know who writing this music. You got brothers is teaching others how to talk to us in the music. They called them music fixers in the 50s and 60s. They had to fix the music because the other people don't know the way we use music. So they can't promote the culture we give them until we show them how to fix the music. And the music is the...
I was going to say, can you take that all the way back to the so-called days of slavery, when the songs that were being sung that were actually, now they became incorporated into the spiritual religious songs, but they were actually messages that were being broadcast, or things that were being talked about that were not openly spoken of. Even when we talk about so-called ETs and so forth, swing down chariot, stop and let me ride, in the church, is saying, rock me, Lord, in the bosom of Abraham. But we know of chariots of fire, the chariots of the so-called gods. So were our ancestors connecting, or were they knew that there were sky people, and they were saying, come get me, look, take me out, whatever. They were sharecropping, and they were stuck in these situations that they wanted to be relieved from? Was that what was going on? Or
the earth tribes, no matter what part of the land they are going to look to the Americas for the next wave of cultural phenomenon. Biblically, they call us the salt of the earth, because we are the progenitors of the music, of the art, of the acting, of the singing, of the dancing, right? We are the progenitors of that. So if you go back to Muhammad, and the hadith say Muhammad was having a celebration, and he put the celebration on hold to say, where's the ones with the duffs? That's the drum. If you look at Shaka Zulu, when he leaves the shaman getting the sword made, when he about to be promoted, he had a feast for him, and they played the bongos, the drums, right? If you go to Nelson Mandela and Stephen Biko in the apartheid era, they talking in the music. If you go to Frantz Fanon, he said, where are the days when the mothers sung the songs of liberation into the ears of the babes to stand up and oust the enemy? So it's always been our cultural development that influences music, but we always code music. You code it with the 808. That's the war drum. We are in a state of war. Hip hop is telling you that with the 808. So the 808 is the root chakra pound to get you active and moving in order to find out why you stuck in your lower self. Once you understand what the codes in the music, all of the notes is telling you a story, right? The A tone is the A minor. A minor is a certain pitch in the music, but it's a homonym for what them people doing wrong.
They not like us.
They not like that. Right?
All right.
So then you go from your minors to your flats, your B's, your C's, your D's. Those are your grades that the frequency come in on. And the frequency is played out in the note. What is a note? It's a short letter.
Okay.
So the note is going to tell you what the pitch is. The pitcher is the sender. He's the one on the pitcher's mound about to try to strike somebody out. Once you know what the pitch is it a curveball? Is it a slider, a fastball, a slow ball? Right? What's the pitch? If you don't know what the catcher flipped as the code to the pitcher, then you won't never know what the pitch is. So now you have to know what the catcher is covering what? Home plate. That means the home base is being covered by the one who's flipping the code to the one at the pitcher's mound. Right? So the pitcher is determining the pitch based on the frequency that comes from home. Your home training. Mama, your first teacher. Your first nurse. right? She's teaching you the art and science of loving home and family first. So when you become an adult as a chief, you say that whatever I do with myself is going to benefit home and family first, which takes us to a first family flip, which is a royal art degree. Because only from the royal house will you get the red blue arc. And the arc is the covenant. And the covenant is the rainbow. And the rainbow is being perverted by the society in order to create an aversion to the rightful layer of the colors in the spectrum. Every note in music has a color assigned to the note.
Right.
So now you got colors, 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 colors. I'm a nightmare walking, psychopath talking, king of my jungle, just a gangster stalking. That's an Ice-T flip. And Ice-T is flipping from Long Island. The Strong Island, right? The Strong Island. The Strong Island is where Rakim from. The Black God, Code Flipper, High Chief, 5% Nation, right? They say I was locked in jail, so now I guess I'm out on bail. But the only island I was on was the strong one. And if I did a bit, it'd be a long one, right? So he's flipping the code back to the other island. So now we got an island knock off an island knock. So Belle Isle is in Detroit, right? And Detroit is where Chief Pontiac had to fight the French at River Rouge when they turned the water red. And the blood was up to the horse's bridle, which was the blood in the water, which takes us to Chicago and the Democratic National Convention. All this is just tying the music to the culture, to the politics.
Wow.
That's called a zigzag flip. Because in the DNC, they dyed the Chicago River red, which turned it from the Chicago River to the Rouge River. Because Chicago is supposed to be founded by a French named Dusable, Jean-Baptiste Dusable.
Okay.
But it wasn't, because before they changed the name to Chicago, it was an old tribal metropolis called Chata.
Wow.
So they want us to believe that this was an uninhabited land, but we have castles all over the land. They just turned them into prisons and state buildings in order to open your path.
And asylums.
Yep, mental hospitals.
Yeah.
So they telling you what they gonna do with you. They gonna either govern you with their politics, or they gonna house you in your castle as a prison, or they gonna drive you crazy trying to collect your birthright if you don't remember the old ways.
Wow. While you were talking about the colors and the notes and all that, it made me I jumped off for a minute because I wanted to go. You know, I guess one of the things I do is working with energy, and one of the things we have is when we're doing an energy assessment of someone, frequency wise, you could determine what color or colors are prominent in someone's life, whether the colors are negatively influencing them or positive, what frequencies, what note is pitched too high or what might be too low, and what's balanced. So we end up giving the client tones that balance what comes up in their assessment. But we also give them colors that would give them certain outcomes. So, these are a lot of the things that we don't get the benefit of. This is technology that's old and ancient, but withheld from the masses so that those, so-called, in the know elites can take the benefit of that. Because you might be looking at, purple and purple might be setting you off, for instance. And it, you might be like, so what we end up doing, and I went and pulled my thing. What we end up doing is we have glasses, and so today I need to look at, if I need to look at things through, like, say, rose-colored glasses, I can put the color lens on that I need to balance. It might be my chakras might be off, or it may be some energetic issue with me. But a lot of times, I mean, even though, because we were going to talk in this part about some metaphysical stuff. So a lot of times, like I said, or it might say, in order for me to get what it is I need, I may need to have orange. I need to be focusing on orange. I can change my lenses and change my perspective and change the energy in my body. So a lot of times, the certain colors that they put on us and the tones that they put on us are affecting us, our body, our mental, even our physiology, colors and frequency. And I learned that, with what I've been doing with AOScan for a while, but this is something that's ancient and old that our people knew. I'm pretty sure there were certain tones or certain colors and so forth that they knew to stay away from, or they knew to maybe embrace at a certain time. And it can change. It may be you need the purple today, but tomorrow you need to be looking at yellow or green. And it's kind of hard to do that, because this kind of knowledge, where it may have been widespread back in our earlier ancient days, they took all that away from us.
Yeah, like biorhythms.
Yeah.
Your biorhythms can be electronically read because they have machines calibrated to your biorhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of your biorhythms is assigned a color. The same with moods, right? Remember the mood ring? When your mood change, the color change? Right, because they all have a energy signature. Some stones, like the one they make the real moon rings out of, not these fake ones that they use paper that's designed to do what the stone do, but the real stone, people would carry them around to monitor their own mood so that they can try to maintain a certain frequency.
Right.
And then they turned them into a novelty, exploiting our culture because we naturally drawn to things that's from our old cultures. They find ways to give us a mimic, an artificial replica of it, and then our genetic memory will be drawn to it. It's the same with the Bible. That's why the Bible is rewritten and scrambled up to confuse us, because the genetic memory remembers the holy drama. Everybody that's earthborn, the story of Osiris and Isis has a different story around the world, but it's the same story. It's called the holy drama. Right? And it's the story of the father falling to the uncle and the son of the father coming back to take the rulership back from the uncle.
Okay.
Right? In Sumeria, it's the story of Ninigazita, Enki, and Enlil. Right? Over here, it's the great father sky and Mother Earth, right? And then they produce the Hayoka, a high priest, high chief. Right? So the story is the same. It's just played out differently in different cultures to suit the underlying genetic memory of the people local to the area. Right? So when they tell us these stories, our genetic memories say this is the truth, even if it's scrambled up. Your genes, your DNA program will unscramble the story subconsciously. So you have to be able to read your own subconscious mind in order to bring the truth of the matter to conscious awareness. They tell you not to do introspection because the idle mind is the devil's workshop. But who is the devil? Devil means enemy. adversary, opponent. So if it's you versus you, that's the best place to be, in your head. But you always hear people say, get out your head. You all thinking too much. There's no such thing as thinking too much, because how do you learn how to think? By thinking, by examining your thought process. You learn how to think. They took critical thinking and practical problem solving that was hardwired into all of our education out of the educational curriculum. So now there's no critical thinking, practical problem solving. You have to ask for that separately. You have to enroll your child into K through 12 critical thinking, practical problem solving, and they're going to try to tell us it don't exist. But you can go to Amazon, type in critical thinking K through 12, and the whole books will come up.
Oh, wow.
But it don't exist. Those classes are only privy to the people in the higher economic echelon based off the 3-tier German school philosophy: Richelin, Volksschule, academia. Real school, false school, and academia. Academia is where the ones that they want to rule is taught. Real schooling is the ones that they want to mediate and govern over the rest of the masses. That's where they taught. And Volksschule is where everybody else is taught, which sounds like false schooling, which is artificial education.
Wow. So from a standpoint of, do you think that the paradigm of so-called education as we've known it up until we got to the COVID time of COVID, where, many parents, children were home for a year or so, I felt like there was a shift in that paradigm. I mean, anybody trying to say start a school or whatever and keep it in a certain, and I'm not talking about anybody, but in particular, but I feel like, sending your children to school now is probably been exposed as not as advantageous to their knowledge base as we thought it was. I mean, it's the steps you have to take in order to get these certifications and degrees, but does it really give the child the erudition that they need? I mean, it was when we were doing home economics and what do you call it, carpentry and auto mechanics. I'm not no things, but things like that, where children could come out of school, hair, beautician. They could come out of school and be, if they wanted, they could go into some type of a job if they wanted to. But now they get a whole bunch of gender twisting, bending. They get a lot of things. I forgot what they're calling that thing, but they're getting a lot of stuff that's basically about a bunch of propaganda.
It's all social engineering.
Well, yeah, and it's not preparing them, and so they still feel like they have to go somewhere for higher education. And my question is it really higher education, or is it just a way to get more of the siphon the finances out of the people and still never give them anything, no value for the, what they put into it? Because at the end of it, what do they come out with? A large, a bill that they can never pay off. And more than likely, they might end up working in, a fast food restaurant than they will in the profession of which they call themselves being trained or at a higher level. So do you see that ending? Do you see that there being a paradigm shift in the so-called education to an erudition type of situation that the matriarchy will put together, that's maybe patterned after something that used to be?
Yeah, the whole educational system is going to be revamped. Most of these systems is going to be to benefit the collective as opposed to the elites at the top. That's going back to the tribal ways. The way that they educate now, they don't educate you. What they do is indoctrinate you. It's a difference. The indoctrination effects can be shown in modern education with the conditions of how they're teaching the children and what's the focus? Sex. Not just sex, the most perverse and corrupt sex.
Absolutely.
Right? Gender confusion is part of the new curriculum. So when we talk about a gay agenda, it was a group of homosexual priests in the 60s that hired a group of retired generals to tell them how they had to write them a report and tell them how to make homosexuality acceptable to the mainstream. And then they came out and began to finance that the same way they financed them generals to do the research. They begin to pay off corporations to incorporate the curriculum and indoctrinate the children because they don't worry about the adults. If they can control the children, they got you for another generation. COVID exposed the fraud in the educational system when parents was forced to have to homeschool. And it wasn't as difficult as they thought it was going to be, and their children was happier. And a lot of them said, we're not sending our baby back to that because they miserable. They know subconsciously that they being programmed to do something that's contrary to their nature. And so they hate school. Some of them hate it to their own detriment and commit suicide because of it. But we don't want to address those issues. What's wrong with the educational system that's sending my child to school and making him jump off a bridge? We don't want to talk about it because then we be held accountable for sending our children who can't function in a Skinner box given directions by a Pavlovian response system bell. This is all social engineering because when they created modern education, they said the agenda is to create a nation of workers.
Right. That's true.
If you was a critical thinker and a practical problem solver, you don't have to work. You can create your own business from almost anything.
That's true.
Anything around you it can be used to survive. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's called living off the fat of the land. Go back to Fred Sanford. What was his source of income? He sold junk.
Junk. Junk. That's right.
Some of the junk dealers from over here where I'm at, they leave the junkyard in a pickup truck, go home, take a shower, get dressed, and get in a Mercedes and go to the uptown community where they fit right in. But during the work hours, you can't tell they not bums.
That's true. And I think that most of what we have or what we need exists. It's just that they've introduced the fiat system as a way of I guess it's not even a barter, but forcing one into a level of servitude in order to get basic things that everyone should have a right to. You know what I mean? When you talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or whatever. So we're talking about even the basic of basics that a lot of people are living without because they've had this fiat system that they've created with this false, with this monopoly, so-called money, and people are scrambling trying to
call them
make
prison tokens.
Well, okay, all right.
It's the same way as it's the same as tokens in prison. You can't spend them nowhere in the world. You can't leave the prison. You can't leave the prison with $1 million in prison tokens and get a dime.
Wow, that's true, and that's what we're That's what we're headed towards anyway. With the with the end of the fiat system, but we realize that it's not just the U.S. Dollar, if you will, the U.S. fiat, but it's anything that's connected. Anybody else who has fiat, that's all affected. So that's why I think it's probably taking some time for some of these things to, when people have been waiting for the transition, it's going to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen as easily as we think, because it's not just, we're talking about the what is it? What do they call it? With the in Europe they use the euro. We have the whatever, the USD. You've got the
So
different currencies. The paper currencies are all fiat.
yeah. So we go into a crypto system, electronic banking system, but the bank notes will be based on asset. That means if you have a $10 gold note, you will be able to redeem it for $10 in gold once again.
Okay.
Cash and carry, ain't no credit. You either can buy it or you can't.
Right.
Debt equals slavery.
True.
We know that they use the system of debt to enslave the people.
Right. Listen,
Right.
I'm gonna stop us for a minute. We need to let those who just can't come in know what's going on. We are actually we started this first 45 minutes or so on YouTube and Facebook because we wanted you all to. We didn't have a real way to get you on our Unfiltered channel, so we have a link in the description box. I want y'all to hear me good. We're going to end this part of the broadcast. There is a link in the description box, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. It says you must use this link to access the unfiltered version. We're going to be ending this portion in just a few minutes. And what we want you to do is to click back in on the link. You're basically going to see the same thing that you see, but what the difference is that we will not be on Facebook. We will not be on YouTube. If you want to share that link with anyone, please share it. They can get on. There's no registration required, but you do have to click the link to enter in. We have space for 10,000 folks. So you can tell everybody if you want, but we want to come back on and be a lot less guarded about what we say. At least Chief will be able to say, because we've talked about some things that we know will probably be a bit controversial, might kind of raise the ire, if you will, of the internet gods, and we just want to be able to be open and honest. So there's like 800 and so of you all right now. We can see, I can see now. I went down the step. So between Facebook and YouTube, if you go back, if you click off, go to the description of this show, the link is there. You click on, and we're going to be coming back on in just a few minutes. At 8:30 is when the broadcast will begin over there. As a matter of fact, as soon as we log off, Chief, we can actually log in and be over there, and then start letting people. And we don't have to let you in. Once you click, you're in. But we want you to know that the venue, so to speak, is changing, but the conversation is going to be continuing, but at another level. And so please bear with us. Over where? Okay, over where? Click the link that's in the description. If you're on YouTube, just click, when you look at YouTube, you see where you can click on more for description. And when you look down there, it tells you what's on tonight. And it also says you must click on this link. There's a hot link there. Facebook, there's a hot link there. Click that link, and it's going to bring you over to our private, what we call Unfiltered channel, which means it's not on YouTube and it's not on Facebook. That's all. Other than that, nothing changes. You'll be able to hear and you'll be able to chat and so forth, but you just will not be on YouTube or Facebook if you want to continue this. So we want you to, we're going to log off and come back on. How about that, Chief? You ready? Because we can think it's a good segue place. And
yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So you and I are gonna log off and log in immediately to the other channel. So when folks come over, we will actually be there. So and again, you all be able to chat. You will be able to do all of that, but we'll just be in a freer channel. We'll be on an unrestricted channel. So give us a minute, or give us a couple of minutes, and we will come right back. How's that? All right. shitty. Yeah, that's Hayes.